It was one of those days where the world seemed to slow down. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, and the rain drizzled down softly, as if the heavens themselves were trying to whisper secrets to the earth. I remember how the wet earth smelled, a comforting mix of soil and fresh grass. The kind of scent that makes you feel grounded, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. I was standing by the school gate, under an old banyan tree, waiting for the rain to ease up. My uniform was a little damp at the edges, but I didn't care. My mind was elsewhere, thinking about her. Sunita. She was the kind of girl who could make even the dullest day feel like sunshine. But today, she wasn't smiling. She had looked distant all day, and I couldn't figure out why. We weren't anything, at least not officially. Just friends who shared glances across the classroom, a few shy smiles during lunch breaks, and the occasional awkward conversation. But there was something there, something unspoken between us. The kind of connection that makes you want to stay in the moment just a little longer, even if all you're doing is standing beside each other in silence. I glanced at my watch, knowing I'd be late if I didn't leave soon. But then, I saw her. Sunita. She stood a few feet away, just outside the gate, her umbrella barely holding back the rain. Our eyes met, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. She smiled, that soft, hesitant smile that always made my heart race. "Waiting for someone?" she asked, her voice gentle, almost teasing. I shook my head, pretending to be casual, though my heart pounded in my chest. Just waiting for the rain to stop. She looked up at the sky, then back at me, her lips curving into a knowing grin. "I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. Do you want to share my umbrella?" There it was. An invitation wrapped in something so innocent. I nodded, trying to act like it wasn't a big deal, but inside, I was a mess of nerves and excitement. We started walking down the narrow lane leading to our homes, our footsteps splashing lightly in the puddles. The umbrella was small, and I could feel the warmth of her shoulder brushing against mine. It was such a simple thing, really, but it felt monumental. Every step we took together felt like something was shifting between us, something important, something that couldn't be undone. For a while, neither of us spoke. The rain provided a soft soundtrack to our silence, and it was comfortable. That's what I remember most about that moment. It wasn't awkward or forced. It was like we both knew there were words waiting to be said, but we were in no rush to say them. As we neared the turn where she would usually go left and I would go right, she slowed down, her footsteps faltering. I could sense there was something on her mind. I heard you're moving to Delhi," she said softly, her voice barely audible over the rain. The words hit me like a punch. I hadn't told anyone yet. It wasn't supposed to be real until I said it out loud, but now, standing there next to her, it felt too real, too soon. "Yeah, in a couple of months," I admitted, feeling a lump form in my throat. She didn't say anything for a moment, just nodded as if she was processing the information. I could see her biting her lip, a habit she had whenever she was nervous. I wanted to say something to make her feel better, to tell her that it wouldn't change anything, that we could still talk, still be friends. But I didn't, because deep down, I knew things were going to change, and I hated that. "Delhi's a big city," she said finally, her voice barely a whisper. "You'll like it there." "I guess," I shrugged, feeling a strange mix of sadness and frustration. I didn't want to talk about Delhi. I didn't want to think about leaving this place, leaving her. We reached the intersection where we usually parted ways. I stopped, expecting her to keep walking, but she didn't. Instead, she stood there, her hands still gripping the umbrella tightly, her eyes fixed on the ground. "I'm going to miss you," she said, her voice so soft I almost didn't hear it, but I did. And those 4 words, they broke something inside me. They made everything real. Before I could respond, she took a small step closer, close enough that I could feel her breath against my skin. And then, she did something unexpected. She reached for my hand, intertwining her fingers with mine. Her hand was warm, a little shaky, but it fit perfectly with mine. I didn't know what to say, so I just stood there, holding her hand, feeling the weight of the moment. The rain continued to fall around us, but under that tiny umbrella, it felt like we were in our own little world. A world where nothing else mattered but the two of us. "I'll miss you too," I finally whispered, my voice barely holding together. And it was true. I would miss her more than anything. We stood there for what felt like hours, just holding hands, not needing to say anything else. It was as if we both understood that this was our moment, a memory we'd carry with us no matter what happened next. And in that moment, under the rain, I realized something. I had fallen for her. Hard. And maybe she felt the same. Or maybe she didn't. But it didn't matter. What mattered was that, for now, we had this moment. Just the two of us. Eventually, we had to part ways. She gave me one last smile, a bittersweet one that I knew I'd remember for the rest of my life. And as she walked away, disappearing into the rain, I stood there, soaked, feeling a strange sense of peace. Maybe we wouldn't end up together. Maybe we would. But either way, I knew I'd always carry this memory with me. The memory of the girl with the umbrella who made the world feel a little less lonely, even if just for a moment. And as I lie here tonight, thinking back on that day, I realize something. Love doesn't always need grand gestures or dramatic confessions. Sometimes it's found in the quiet moments, the shared silences, the warmth of a hand in yours. That's the kind of love I felt for Sunita. The kind of love that heals, even when you don't realize you need healing. As the rain continues to fall outside, I close my eyes, letting the memory of her smile wash over me, and I can't help but wonder, wherever she is right now, does she think of me too?